Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And got some pretty interesting things going on as of late, especially here in Babylon, okay, America. And what we see happening is as Trump has he mentioned before he even got into office that he planned to use the military to accomplish these things that he's doing now. But now what we're starting to see is the provocation working, right? The strategy being problem, reaction, solution. We're starting now to see the reaction, right, of the people. And with the deployment of these troops to these different cities, right? It started in D.C. And now you can see that as it's spreading through the different states, there's some more clash and backlash, which is causing an even greater divide. And that's exactly what the scriptures say, right? One side against another. But what's also interesting with all this is it is the perfect cause or catalyst to drive this this administration into a dictatorship, because by this clash and this backlash, it forces, in quote unquote, the hand of Trump to take extreme measures in order to stand by whatever policies he's trying to enact. And by doing so, there are certain lines that you have to cross, because the opposing side is not going to just lay back, and say, all right, you do whatever you want. So the more they push back, the more he pushes forward, eventually till he sets a new precedent, okay, or or crosses a certain threshold that now puts you in the space of a dictatorship. So this is from ZeroHedge.com. And it says here, legal battles rage over National Guard deployments to 5 states. What to know? And what this is looking like is it's going to end up in a dispute of checks and balances, right? And eventually, that's going to be thrown out the window. President Donald Trump has announced his intent to send National Guard troops to major cities across the United States in an effort to combat criminal activity. And how do we know that that's going to be the case? Because according to what's written in prophecy, these things have to play out in such a manner so they can lead up to the fulfillment of the visions that were received by the prophets of old. The same things that we warn people about, even though majority of people don't take heed to it. not until it's directly in their face, at least. In response, some government officials have alleged that he is exceeding his legal authority by disregarding certain limits Congress placed on his ability to federalize the National Guard. The only thing is, he doesn't care. So, if you say, oh, what he's doing is not legal, and he does it anyway, then what? Right? That's the next part, which is Congress may come out and say you can't do this. A judge may come out and say you can't do this. But if he does it anyway, then what? Then what happens? Then you enter the next level of escalation, right? Because when somebody, the reason they set up this system is to have order, and the order lasts so long as people are abiding by that system or that law. But now with the government shutdown, right, with states suing the Trump administration, with federal judges blocking certain things he's trying to do, and him touting the use of emergency powers to override that, you're entering that state of anarchy. And they've empowered these troops to do whatever they got to do to protect themselves or get their job done. So if you go and hand yourself to them, just know that you're going to get that work. As it says in 2 Ezra 16, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. And we're seeing how eventually it gets to that point where the wrath is burning. It says here, the resulting controversy has raised questions about the balance of power between state and federal governments. Trump has already, and what their ultimate plan is to collapse that. Okay, that whole constitution, this constitution, that. Eventually, when you're under military rule, that's out the window, and they want enough provocation to enter that domain of military rule or reign here. Trump has encountered legal battles over his attempts to federalize state National Guard troops, in part due to a law known as 10 USC 12406. In that law, Congress set limits on president's ability to federalize the National Guard, specifically requiring either an invasion, rebellion, or danger of rebellion, or an inability by the president to execute the law with regular forces. This law has already come up in lawsuits from California, Oregon, and Illinois, and could resurface depending on how state and local governments respond to future deployments. And boy, oh boy, it's going to be interesting when they come to New York, because I'm like I keep saying, man, I think personally they're waiting for this guy, Mamdani, to get in there before they make their way over here. And so I'm not going to read the whole entire thing here, but you get the point, right? You have states that are fighting back, trying to go through the legal system to put restraints on what Trump is doing. But as you're seeing, that's only going to provoke another level of unprecedented events to take place. And eventually, when anarchy sets in, right, where there is no rule in the sense that, you know, if you're not adhering to the system that has been set in place, why should we? That kind of thing. Then you have more trouble, because who ends up suffering? The people. And once they suffer enough, they start to get angry. And when they get angry, you end up seeing Second Esdras 15. So it says here, Trump, this is a different article, right? Trump threatens to invoke Insurrection Act in Portland. President Trump on Monday said he was considering invoking the Insurrection Act to justify sending federal troops into Portland and avoid any legal hurdles. So they have loopholes to go around these checks and balances. And he knows that with all these executive orders he's signing, and he's not afraid to use them. And he's going to tell you, right? Trump, in remarks from the Oval Office, likened the situation in Portland to an insurrection, though he said he had yet to make a decision on invoking the Insurrection Act. Portland is on fire. Portland's been on fire for years, Trump said, describing the situation as all insurrection. That's interesting how he uses the term on fire. If you know, you know. It says here, asked under what conditions he would invoke the Insurrection Act, Trump said he would do it if it was necessary. Now that's subjective. Necessary according to whose standards? So far, it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason, Trump said. See? So he's basically telling you it's there, and I'm gonna. If you want to come against me, I'm gonna use it because it's gonna be in my benefit. If I had to enact it, I do that. If people were being killed, and courts were holding us up, or or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I do that. I mean, I want to make sure people aren't killed. So by people being killed, when you say there's crime going on in the city and you start to show statistics and you say, oh, look, there were these murders over here, this many people got shot, this many people this, that's enough to say, well, people are being killed. And I'm trying to send troops over there, and the courts and the governors and mayors are trying to stop me. Well, I'm going to declare, invoke the Insurrection Act, declare an insurrection going on over there, and now stand back. Okay? You want to go the legal route. Don't forget that these powers were created and put on the books. So they're that's not just this, there's many others, but they're at his disposal. Trump also described his administration's clashes with local and state officials and the courts over deploying the National Guard to Portland as an insurrection. I really think that that's really criminal insurrection, Trump said, concerning the fact that they're opposing, that was like an AI generated video. But concerning because a lot of them are using AI for their commercials now. Anyway, concerning the fact that they're clashing with him and pushing back, he's deeming that, he said he thinks that's an insurrection. So, we'll see, right? We'll see. It looks like the more they push back, the more he's going to push forward. Um, so we're definitely in the time of interesting events and really the fulfillment of great prophecies. And don't think that oh, this is happening in Portland, I'm not over there. Oh, it's in Chicago, I'm not over. It's going to make its way to you. Portland has been the focus of intensifying criticism from the Trump administration amid ongoing protests over immigration enforcement in the city. There have been protests in Portland dating to June in response to the Trump administration's aggressive deportation efforts. Now, what's also interesting about all of this is the cause or the reasoning behind it. So you have a government shutdown, and they're saying that, in fact, let me jump there real quick and then come back. Right, it says here, White House memo argues furloughed workers are not guaranteed back pay. So, so here it is. There's a shutdown, right? You're not gonna get, the pay. Basically, like if you're let me just read it here. If you're affected by this and you're not getting paid, you would expect that when things get back to normal, all that time that you didn't get paid for, you'd get paid. Well, a draft memo from the Office of Management and Budget is raising the possibility that furloughed federal workers may not be entitled to back pay from their time off during the government shutdown. You're doing this at a time when money is a very big concern for people, right? The economy is not doing too well, and people are already struggling. This is not what they're trying to hear. Okay, they don't want to hear that, and you're telling them that. It's 2 Esdras 15, right? They shall not regard their kings nor princes. So eventually it's going to start getting real dangerous out here in these streets real soon. As the saying goes, when people have nothing else to lose, they lose it. An administration confirmed to The Hill that the memo, which was first reported by Axios, hinges on an aggressive interpretation of the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019, which President Trump signed during the last government shutdown, which is interesting, right? I think the last shutdown was during his time as well, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, back to where we were. See if there's a bit more on here. Yeah, there's a little bit more on here. It says a federal judge in a ruling late Sunday temporarily blocked the administration from sending National Guard troops to Oregon. U.S. District Judge Karen, and they're purposely like dragging this out, okay? But it's for a reason, right? Things have to be set. Everything has to be set in its right place. But the plans still need to be kicked into motion. All right. U.S. District Judge Karen Emergood, a Trump appointee, previously granted Oregon officials their request for a restraining order against Trump ordering Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to deploy Oregon National Guard troops to Portland. In response to, what's his first name? Karen's initial ruling, Trump sought to deploy California National Guard troops to Portland, a move met with swift backlash from California Governor Gavin Newsom. Invoking the Insurrection Act could give Trump a way around the courts, but it likely would prompt widespread backlash amid concerns about the deployment of the military in American cities. The fact that this is current events and current news should really sound some alarms in the minds of people, especially when you go back to a time years ago where we warned you of the same exact thing. And now you're actually seeing the same exact thing on your news right in front of you in these cities on social media, right? They literally got troops out on the streets, but once again, it's not gonna really click in the minds of people until their brain gets smacked back and forth against their skull as a result of being hit by the end of a gun from a troop. That's when their eyes are going to be opened, when they realize, oh shit, this is actually happening. And then it all starts to make sense in a painful way. That's what people know. That's what they're waiting for reality to set in. Because they think that, you know what, by ignoring what's happening in reality and just continuing to hold on to this pseudo sense of reality that I have, maybe it's just gonna disappear. One day I'm just gonna look up and if I'm not looking at it, if I can't see it, then it's not there. That is the worst kind of delusion you can have. If I'm not seeing it, then it's not there. You know there's a storm coming. You run into your house and say, I'm just gonna hide and not look at the news. Well, eventually the storm is gonna get to you. What's gonna happen? If you watch the news, you'd have found out where the evacuation site is, how to prepare, and probably been able to do something better than acting as though ignoring the problem makes the problem go away. That's very opposite of how life works. At the same time, Illinois and Chicago earlier Monday sued to block Trump's deployment of National Guard members to their city after the administration moved to send in hundreds of troops. And just like you're seeing this, and just like it's going to escalate, eventually you're going to see them bring out the MOTB. And it's going to be a reality, and you'll see them talking about it. You'll see it on the news. You'll see people receiving it. And it'll set in that, yo, this is actually happening in real time. Like, I don't need to go and look for an article and come and do a lesson on it for you to see what's happening. It'll be right in front of you. Okay? This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 5, verse 12. At the same time shall men hope, but nothing obtain. They shall labor, but their ways shall not prosper. And we're about to be in that time, all right, where people are going to be hoping for good. They're going to be hoping for mercy. They're going to be hoping for some sort of escape, right? The scriptures tell you in the book of Ezekiel, the 7th chapter, I believe the 24th verse or so, that destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. See? So destruction is coming. And instead of turning to the Lord and just accepting the fact that, okay, this is what prophecy says, this is what's going to happen, you got people that want to resist it. They want to resist it and resist it. It's like being on the Titanic and you're seeing there's no way at least based on the story that we're told, right? And based on the movie, all right? Not in real events, but just based on the movie, you're seeing this magical iceberg that you just can't, some way, somehow, you just can't avoid it. So let's just go with that. So you know that you're not going to be able to avoid this. You know that the certainty of this ship crashing is like 99%. And yet, instead of jumping off the ship and getting on those boats, you decide, no, I'm going to resist it as long as I can until eventually there's no more life rafts, there's no more boats, and the ship is now crashed. That's when you want to turn and see if there's one more you can jump on or escape. At that point, it's too late. And that's what these people are doing. That's why when destruction comes, they're going to seek peace and there's going to be none because all the lifeboats and the life rafts have left. We were handing them out this whole entire time before the ship crashed, while we were telling you the ship is about to crash. And we're telling you, jump on here. Men, women, children, get on them boats. They said, nah, we gonna stay on this Titanic and we gonna make it work. Okay, so go make it work. Go ahead and make it work. But anyway, that's pretty much it on that. I just wanted to cover this, especially this part right here, because this could, as we read, it could trigger major backlash. But this guy, this king of Babylon seems like the guy to just go ahead and do it anyway. And that's because the scriptures tell you the Most High works, on the minds of men. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rakha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.